Boombastic. There we are. Look at this. That's smooth now. Smoother. I think it's a little bit smoother. So how is everyone? How is everyone on this magical, cold, miserable, loving? I thought it was Sunday today. It's actually Saturday. Today. So I was only when I was speaking to somebody earlier this afternoon, and I realised it was Saturday, and I was getting ready for them to come round because I thought it was Sunday. Bit awkward. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Let me just turn this music off. It's there. So hopefully everyone's cool. Right, so this is the part where like I sort of enjoy doing parts of this, but I'm really busy at the same point. But I'm also appreciate. Oh look, hello, look, I can't. This is look. But I also appreciate the fact that I can't get to everyone, and I'm getting lots of messages, and I'm trying to answer messages at the same time, and I'm trying to get to as many people as possible. But ultimately, I've got paperwork to do as well. So this is the easiest way of getting to everybody with love, and answering as many questions as possible as while we are here. And I think ultimately as well, I use this stuff on YouTube, and it makes into a podcast as well. And that's why I do it. And I do it for my own, just so we're clear, I do it for my own benefit, for my own sanity, because it makes me feel better. Because I spent the whole day time writing and supporting others, and it's a good release for me almost. It's a good release. I like it. It's a good release. It's better than having I can't say that because obviously people that I was going to have a bit crude there, I think, but I've restrained myself. That's good for me. So if you think about me as a Mackenzie friend and as a person that comes with you all into court, I know that people have a perception of me that maybe I'm a bit of a juvenile child or whatever, but that's not always the case. But it is the case, but it's not always the case. I think we've got to have a laugh, and we've got to enjoy life. And as difficult as life is, and as life may be, we've got to try and make the best out of any given situation. So I've spent my years being sad and miserable and angry, and I've got no more anger or hate or anything for anyone left in me. So as a result of that, I'm just continually happy, and I wake up grateful, even with a bad leg and whatnot. I'm always grateful for these days for what I do have, not what I don't have. I'm always appreciative of what I do have, and I think that's the best way we have to be, really, to be honest. So I know I get a lot of criticism for being a bit of a child, but really, don't worry about me. I think about me as a Mackenzie friend, almost like, right, what my vision is, yeah, to have like when I get my qualifications, because I'm doing my BA honours in law, when I get the solicitor qualifications and paralegal qualifications, which won't be too long for the paralegal stuff, hopefully, I'm not going to go charging astronomical prices, but I'm still going to be me, and I'm still going to be the Sex Pistols of the family law world. That's what I like to think of myself as, the rock and roll or the alternative of the family law world that basically gets the positive results still, but does it in a different and slightly unique way, where we actually look at the negative situation that we're in and we try and find positives in there. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over the 10 years since falling into this world of discrimination. It can be, and ignorance, being treated separately, discriminated against based on gender. Sometimes it can feel like, just for being a man, you know, it's both sides. I see both sides of the coin, and I see women getting treated badly, and I also see men getting treated equally as badly. But that's just part of the process. Unfortunately, I think the process is the process, and we can't really do much about it until changes come. But enough about me. Enough about me. I'm sure everybody is tuning into this just because ultimately the Amazon update, right? The Amazon update. Now, that last night was obviously, I thought it was Saturday yesterday. I don't know what happened to me. But it wasn't. It was actually still all day yesterday, Friday. So yeah, that's that. The Amazon didn't deliver last night, unfortunately. They did give me a call back, and so I do appreciate the call back. I had to ask for the call back. It's a shame that I had to ask them to do their jobs. It made me feel a little bit special, but they failed in that. But no worries. I ordered a new Amazon, not from the co-op. I won't be using the co-op one again. I used, unfortunately, what's it called? The other one I used. What's the other one? Morrison's. That's it. So I used Morrison's, and well, it was, the food arrived. The delivery driver found the door. He found his finger stuck on the button as well for like a long time as well. I'm like, I can hear you. I can hear you. And he said he couldn't hear me. I'm like, well, I could. So the best of everyone else. But at least he found the place. That's progress. At least he found the address with no problems at all. And I think that's testament to whoever employed that guy. Testament to whoever employed him. Just understanding about the finger. Yeah, the finger is quite important for many different reasons. But I'm not allowed to use jokes like that because they'll take my jokes and use them against me. Is it bad that we live in a world like that? We can't really enjoy like sort of humour and sort of toilet humour anymore publicly. Like, what's it called? You have to be politically correct. Only Fools and Horses is what I compare. Like I say it to a lot of clients. I'm like, if you were to watch what you're going through on television, and if you were to be in any sort of like sitcom, it would be Only Fools and Horses. Yeah, imagine your situation going through family courts, and imagine it on Only Fools and Horses, where you've got the highs and you've got the lows and you've got the funny moments, and some of the stuff you're going through and some of the stuff you go through. Literally, you think about it, it would be, if you're watching it back now, if you're watching your life and your situation back on you now, you've got to, like, there's gonna be stuff in there that you're taking seriously now, and you look back and you've got to laugh, because I look back on some of the situations that I found myself in with my situation, I still do today, and that makes me laugh. I can't help but laugh. It's like some of the stuff that happened during the summer with me and my daughter. Like, if that was on television, you'd be laughing. You literally would be laughing, but because you're living it and you're experiencing it, and as much as it's surreal, because some of the things that you get said and done, it's like totally wacky and out there. And I think that's how I cope with it anyway. You just got to look at it that way. And I think if you do that, right, you can sort of laugh at it as it comes, rather than being angry and letting the frustration of the situation overwhelm you. I think that's how I've managed to cope with it over the years. But let me go back to something 1 second. I'll go back to the Amazon driver, yeah? Mindfuckery last night, big time, right? So what he did, he was parked literally 2 streets away, yeah? I could see it on the Amazon app. I could literally see it on the Amazon app where he was. And I put the phone down, I was like, look, he's there. I've messaged him on the app and whatnot. And he's like, he sat there for 20 minutes. He literally sat there for 20 minutes. I'm not just working along anyway, working. And then he says he's going to go. And he said on the phone he's going to go. And I'm like, then because I'm complaining, as I was complaining, this woman gets him back on the phone. And that was on the live, and that was on the podcast, the one before this one. So if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it and blah, blah, blah. Or watch it, whatever. But ultimately, this woman gets him on the phone, and he says, he was rude to me. He said, bloody this and bloody that and bloody this. I'm like, oh, whoa. That's not what was said. I never said that. One thing I said out of tone was probably a little bit of sarcasm of, I would come and do it for you, which is the fact. I would have come down and met him and done it for him and come down the corner, whatever it needed to be, if my leg was working. But then what he did was very shrewd and very clever, because what he did, when he got on the phone, I'm apologising. I was apologising to him for something that was unnecessary to apologise for. I'd done nothing wrong. And he waited for me to make that little sarcastic comment, or it wasn't even a rude comment, but he waited, and then I said something, and I was all polite and everything, and I did it as a joke and laughing and joking with him. It wasn't even any question. And then as soon as I said that, he twisted it and he twisted it and he threw it back at me. And that's it. You're being nasty. That's it. So he was sat there for 20 minutes thinking of a way to get out of delivering whatever. Before he might have, I don't know, dropped a tin of beans and the beans might have gone over the back of the van. Who knows? But the situation was that. And I'm like, as soon as he'd done it, he switched it back a bit. I found myself apologising for something that I shouldn't be apologising for. But I still did it to try and keep the peace. But then nothing I did I was able to keep the peace with. And that just took me back. After everything simmered down and got off the lives and everything, I thought about it. And I was like, that's what they've done to me before. He literally played mindfuckery. So he did this, bloody. I'm like, no, but I was apologising. Why was my apology not good enough? If I said bloody this and bloody that, and you're the one asking me for help, and I was trying to help you, and I'm apologising for helping you, and he's just literally decides not to, and it's my fault. So I was like, well, that's proper mindfuckery. That's proper gaslighting, yeah. And that took me on to that's what made me think about gaslighting. That's what he did. He gaslit me, and that happens on a daily basis. Not just, we only talk about it in our relationships, when we talk about it in our marriage or when we're going through separation or whatever, and she gaslit me and he gaslit me and da-da-da. But it happens daily without us even realising. Did you even think about that? Did you? So that got me thinking, let's make sure that everybody is aware of what gaslighting is and how it can be put into your relationship without even realising, because I didn't realise what gaslighting was. And I speak to lots of different people, obviously, who are coming to the end of their relationship, or they're realising something's not right in their relationship, and they come to me and they're talking about what they're going through, and they're describing it. And I know and I can't tell them, they have to figure it out themselves. And I'm like, no, I'm not being abused yet, but you are. And then you can't convince them. Then the penny drops. And they're like, I'm questioning myself. So you then describe what gaslighting is, and make sure they understand what that is. And that's what it is. And it's emotional and psychological abuse. So before we go into gaslighting quickly, because I'm on a timer, I'm doing quite good with that. The difference between emotional and psychological abuse, they're very similar in terms of, obviously, they can't be seen. Yeah, they don't leave bruises. And people and the professionals, I don't believe, take emotional and psychological abuse as seriously as what they should do. Now, whether that is because they don't understand it or they can't see it, but it is very often that it can go years without being spotted. And I've helped and supported cases where the parties are getting on, they communicate, they talk to each other, but one of the parties is being subliminally, covertly abusive, psychologically abusive, emotionally abusive to the other party, because of what they're doing. They will have an impact on their psychological, what they're thinking, questioning their reality, and questioning what's going on, with their surroundings, or it's going to hurt them emotionally, knowing that it's going to impact them one way or another. So the definitions between them both is quite, one's about feelings. Let me just get this right. So psychological falls underneath the category of emotional abuse, but it's a bit nuanced, yeah? So basically, emotional abusive behaviour, according to the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, I need to get it right, because people are jumping all over me. Okay. Distinct, okay, I had it all lined up. Emotion has been basically when you're not shouting at each other, but tensions are higher, you're not yelling at each other anymore, but you can be silent, like silent treatment, stonewalling you, yeah? Emotional abuse is like potentially stonewalling. So it's when they attempt to control you, the other person, the victim, that your emotions by a weapon of choice. So for example, they blame your partner, you blame your partner for things they cannot control. So you throw a tantrum and tell your partner it's because of them. That's emotional abuse, yeah? Constantly criticizing. So saying, I love you, but if you didn't do this, I love you, but if you wouldn't just open your mouth, Jason. Sorry, I can't help that. One thing I did change when I started getting more confident about myself within my marriage, or what was somehow called a marriage, was when I found my confidence going back into working in an environment that was earning less money but working more hours, retail and retail management. But that was the pinnacle of, I would assume, that changed the dynamics of our relationship, because I was no longer working 9 till 5, earning ridiculously good money to put in most of that up my nose and with her and whatnot. And that changed that changed dynamics of the relationship. And because of that as well, I got more confident, because you're naturally doing something you enjoy and you love doing it. So you're getting recognition at work for doing it, and you're getting more confident because of that. Because of that, I started getting more confident. That's when things started changing. She didn't like the fact that I was getting more confident. It had to be more, the banter that was banter previously turned into more derogative and nasty stuff. So that, again, I didn't realize that at the time. But then isolation. So for example, I didn't ever want to go out. It got to a point where I didn't want to go out with my ex-wife's friends and all of their little clan and whatnot, generally because I would end up arguing with them because I didn't agree with shit or whatever, and I had a few beers. So I took it upon myself to say, you know what, I'm not going to bother. You go out. We don't need a babysitter. I'll stay in and I'll take care of blah, 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 blah. I am so grateful that I did that, because that's why we've got such a good relationship now. But that's one of them things. It's one of those things, isn't it? You sacrifice your nights out for your kid. But then I sacrificed everything. I will continue to sacrifice everything. We'll continue to sacrifice everything. So that's emotional. So you're jealous. Jealousy is, if you drive jealousy, if you have someone that's really jealous and you're checking over their social media, that's emotional abuse, because you're putting them on edge. They should be. I see so many joint Facebook pages where they're a couple, but they've got Mr. and Mrs. Egbert Nobbins or whatever, yeah? And it's like, whose idea was that then? Because there's a distinct lack of trust there if you've got a joint Facebook. just in my view. That may not be the case, but I just think you would have, if you can't let your partner have a Facebook account or a social media account, if they're sending shit off and doing whatever, that's their own choice. You're with the wrong person. If you feel like they are, then you shouldn't be with that person anyway. And that's the biggest regret I've got over everything. Yeah, not leaving my relationship sooner. If you're in a relationship but it's not happy and you're fighting more than you're fucking, yeah. If you're fighting more than you're fucking, then you need to get out. I like that. Fighting more than you're fucking. Fucking have that. Fighting more than fucking. If you're fighting more, effing. If you're effing, that's quality. If you're effing, then you need to get out. Basically, I like that. I like that a lot. So they're basically that's you belittling your partner. So how many of us get belittled? Literally, you get belittled in your. This is what does my head in as well, right? Even after you're separated, even when you're going through the co-parenting, even if you're not able to co-parent, and there's no trust there between the two parents, or there's trust there, you're able to do the handovers or whatever, and there's just basically emotionless, right? But then if she's questioning you, belittling you over your parenting, and trying to get you to tell her where you're going with your kids, and you can't do this and you can't do that and you do this and why you can't go over there, you've got parental responsibility. You don't have to tell her anything, but she's making you feel like you question yourself, you question your own parenting. I spent the 10 years after being separated, I spent 10 years, like literally after that, blaming myself and for the relationship breakdown. And I still do to a certain extent, not as much as I used to, but I've taken responsibility for my share in that. So when does that stop? So if I'm not communicating with her, and I'd like to be able to, when does that stop? When does what she's doing to me become abuse on me? Emotional abuse and psychological abuse. It's there, it's blatant to see, but no one can do anything about it. And that's what we're all in. We seem to all be in this conundrum, this cauldron of we've all been abused, and we literally get abused emotionally and psychologically, but because it doesn't leave any bruises on us and because it doesn't leave any scars apart from suicide, and then when you're dead, it's too late. but then the person who you've killed for, if we all killed ourselves, right, and left a fucking suicide note in our pocket and says, because my ex-wife stops there and let me see our kids, would then the police go and arrest that person for saying, right, well, he's killed himself because therefore you're liable for the death? If there's bullies, hello Matthew, hope you're good, man. Hope it's good to see you, or hear you, or speak to you, or wherever you are. If people are getting bullied and people commit suicide because they're getting bullied online trolling or whatever it is, yeah. If they left a suicide note and say, I'm killed myself because these bullies did this, those people who have done that should then go and get nicked, get charged. That's a death. That's their fault. But people will say, and people will justify the need to bully or condemn or criticize other people when we really have no right to do any of that at all. Let's be honest, because when you're going through abuse, when you've been abused in your own personal relationship, it can leave you feeling bitter. And I was angry for a number of years, but you can't then go, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I have criticized, and my shit stinks, yeah. But I'm now in my world, and I'm saying this to a lot of people. My dimension, the world that I live in, is a good world. It's good, yeah. Because I was saying this earlier. How can children be getting abused at home, emotionally and psychologically? Yeah. So, for example, your ex is belittling your child for looking like you. Your ex is belittling your child for wanting to have a relationship with you. Your ex is jealous of your child because you've got a good relationship with your child. The ex is isolating the child from the father because and that's emotional abuse. This is all emotional abuse. This is all categorically emotional abuse. This is happening to our children. So my daughter is categorically, she is too scared to even mention my name in the same room. She'll get punished. I'm not allowed to be friends with any of her friends' parents. She'll get punished. She lives in fear, but then are her basic needs being met? Well, she's got fed, she's got watered, she's got no bruising, she's not getting impacted sexually. She's got no nits, yeah, she's got all the materialistic things in the world. Yeah, she's basic needs are being met. But what about the emotional and psychological abuse of the emotional? Let's just stick on the emotional abuse that she's ensuing from the mum who is not letting her see the father, or blah blah blah. Well, but if you take the child away from the mum, then that's going to impact the child even further, because the child could end up resenting the father because you're taking them away from the mother, because the child rightly loves the mother, and that's their normal, that's their world, that's their dimension, that's their normal. And they're not going out committing crime. They're not going out not today anyway, not today. Might do next year or the year after, whatever. It might happen, because you don't know the impact of, if I'm lucky because I've got the relationship I have with my daughter, and we've got we speak regularly enough to understand what's what, but not everyone has that. So then your children will go off and try and find a leader, a father figure. In boys, it's gangs. Yeah, we know this. It's common knowledge now. It's gangs. It's going out and causing fights and getting into trouble. As I'm speaking from experience, I did. I wasn't gangs. Well, I wasn't a gang, but wasn't really a gang member as such. I was more of a crap lookout or something. I was just there taking the drugs. But anyway, that's what I did. There was no father figure. Women, girls, they'll go out and they'll get pregnant younger because they don't have a father to discipline them and make sure you use condoms, blah blah blah, whatever the case might be. But fathers, men, are generally more disciplined and are recognised within the courts for being better at educating our children, because it's more important to men. The education side of what we do and making sure our children get educated fully is more important to us. It's not more important, it's equally as important, but we display it in a different way to what the mothers do, which is why you need the mother and the father, because it complements each other. Because there's things the mother can teach that the father can't teach, and there's things the father can't teach the father can teach that the mother can't teach. And anyone who wants best for their children, providing that it's safe and there is no serious welfare concerns, and I mean serious welfare concerns, but you would say that what I've got is a serious welfare concern, because the emotional and psychological abuse that my daughter is potentially going through. But my daughter does not see it as emotional and psychological abuse. She sees it as normal, because it's how she's been trained and it's how she's been brought up. It's a fucking minefield. No, it's a minefield. It's a fucking minefield. But then that's what makes me laugh, because it's every situation is similar, but it's unique. It's like a fingerprint. They all look similar, but they are different. Yeah. So that's psychological abuse. That's the psychological aspect of it. Yeah. So that's emotional. Now we're going to do psychological, right? So the psychological part is when you literally question yourself. You question your reality. Yeah. This is where the gaslighting part comes in. So you are trying to convince your partner. How many times? All the time with me, it was. I remembered things wrong. Apparently, it was. Oh no, that's wrong. You're imagining things. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. Well, no, it's not in my head. I'm just asking a question because it's obvious that it's fucking you stink of dick. Do you know what I mean? That's what. Oh, look, I see your face again. Look, that's what it was with my ex-partner. It was like, you come back. It's clear. And Lindsay, you could clearly You could clearly know when they're fucking having sex with somewhere else. You're not getting sex yourself, and they're coming home thinking of it. And then when you challenge it, you get told that it's you. No, it's me. I'm asking the question. Why turn it into an argument? I should have just got out. And so that's what I'm saying. If you're effing, then get out. That's what you should do. But anyway, back to the convincing manipulate coincidences. Oh, this is a good one. So your partner, when your partner confides you, you use those truths to get them to do something for you or to push their insecurities. Oh, let that sink in. So when you confide in your partner, you give them some truths about you. Because for me, for example, I wear my heart on my sleeve. It's why I put it all out there, because at least that way, there's nothing that anyone could say that isn't already out there. They can have versions of the truth, but I know the truth. So that's why I'm very sort of open about shit. But then how is that, right? So I've had it done to me. I know it's happened to many men, because we've all got the same. The people that I work for, they're very similar. A lot of them are very similar to me in terms of you are being targeted. They target you, and they see you there, and they're like, you know what? He's a nice guy. Let me go and have a bit of him and ruin his life. But you will go and confide in your partner, and it happens to women as well. They'll confide in the men, and they will try and use the information that you give them against you, whether it be immediately, or whether it be in family court, or whether it be before you get into family court. They will try and use it against you. That's manipulation. That's psychological abuse. Yeah. And the gaslighting is manipulating someone by psychological means, by trying to get them to question their own sanity. So I last night was questioning my own reality when it was like, hang on a minute, did that Amazon driver? Why was I saying what happened there? And then he turned around and just barefaced talking nonsense. So he gaslit me. And then that's what made me think. So that's that bit done. Yeah, so that's good. So I'm on good timing almost. Yeah. So 3 minutes ahead of where I'm supposed to be. So that's me keeping good track of stuff. Well, I suppose. But there's a few questions that people wanted to get asked, and I wanted to put them out there. Is free will real or just an illusion? Think about that. So another thing, right? So people getting screwed over by Kafkas. It's happening. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. But when it's happening, you got to play it really cool. You got to play it so cool, it's unbelievable. The easy thing to do when you're getting screwed over by Kafkas is to react the way they want you to react, with emotion and fucking fight and fury, because you're changing the mood, you're moving the goalposts. You said this to me, and now you're doing this to me, and you're gaslighting me, and you got to call it out for what it is, and that's what we've got to start doing. Because what is happening, in my view, is that we're getting abused emotionally and psychologically from our ex-partners post-separation abuse, because they're holding, in their view, and they've got the right to have their opinions, and you can't change their views because that's the world they live in, that's the dimension they live in. So you can't say that's not real, because that's what they see. That's their version of real. That's their truth. So you have to accept it and be like, I'm not wasting my energy trying to argue at that point. So you have your truth, and I'll have mine, and live your life, and I'll live mine. That's how I see it. But not everyone does, and I respect that. But ultimately, if you've got Kafka switching, moving the goalposts, and antagonizing situations rather than defusing them, if you find that they're probably not being independent like they're supposed to be, and if you find that they're going off and having little titty-tattles and whatever with the other party, whether it be the dad or whether it be the mum, the residing parent is generally who it tends to be. If then you need to call out for them, then stop talking to them via voice. Do not talk to them anymore by voice, and just literally talk to them by email, or tell them that you're recording every single call that you're having. If it gets to that point, and I don't believe that you should go into a relationship, whether it be a professional relationship or a personal relationship. You're not going to go into these relationships saying, I'm going to record you, blah, 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 because you wouldn't, you don't. You go into these relationships, these professional relationships with CAFCAS, with social workers, with everyone, with respect. And you go in there with respect, and they should respect you back. And if they don't, that's when you start doing, you start playing by the rules. And these are my rules. So you don't play by their rules, you play by your own rules. These are my rules, you play by your own. You respect them, always show them utmost respect, because they will use it against you. Don't show them any emotion, because they will use that against you. Don't get angry at them, because they'll use that against you. Just only communicate with them via email. Get somebody else to check over your wording to make sure that it's not too firm, make sure it's not too direct. They're going to complain about everything anyway. There's going to be nothing that you can do to stop them from complaining. You can be as polite as you like, and I'm dealing with multiple stuff now where we're getting abused ourselves, and I say ourselves, when I say ourselves, I say my clients, and we're ignoring the abuse that we're getting, and we're totally ignoring it, and we're just providing above it, and we're just going to continue to focus on the kids, and that's not easy. And anyone who thinks that is easy, think again, because it's not. Because you want to defend yourself, and actually human instinct says you want to defend yourself, but you're not. You're just focusing on your child, you're focusing on your kids. That's what we're doing, and that's what we work on. We work on being better people ourselves, supervising above it. People don't like the fact, and generally you'll find your ex-partner, male or female, will not like the fact that you're taking this really awful experience that you're going through, and you're making it into making you a better person. Because not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do it. That's why I try to help people get on the way. Everyone can do it. You can do everyone. Everyone can do anything they want. I firmly believe that if you release your mind and you open your mind properly, you can do anything. And I believe that I'm invincible. Everyone laughs when I say it, but I truly am invincible. And I've been saying it to Lila forever, and I've been saying it to myself forever. And I really am still invincible, because I'm still here. Today, I'm here in this dimension, and I'll stay here for this dimension until my job is done. Then I'll move on to the next one. But regardless of that, the point I'm making is you can all do it. You can all contain your emotion and contain your anger and contain the frustration that they want to pull out of you. They want to pull it out of you, because then they can say, well, look, he's reacting in an inappropriate way. You can't control his emotions. You're fucking around with my kids. You're saying that they try and make out that you are unreliable, that you will not let the kids down. Well, wait a minute, I'm saying I'm the one organising this and this and this, and you're the one moving the goalposts. That needs to be called out. Never let them pull it out on you. And ultimately, that if there is a court order in place, and you need to be very clear that there's a court order in place, if there are no new safeguarding concerns and everything has been rosy, and if their roles in CAFCAS or social services have said there's no more role for us anymore, there's no need for us, you carry on as you are. But you've always raised concerns about your concerns, about the alienation, etc. And it's swept under the carpet with the professionals, but not if you've done your work properly and you're being open and real and owning your shit, and being humble, taking compromise, making sacrifice. If you're doing all the right stuff in court, the judge, which is what matters, which is what matters, was I've always relied on the judge, and as people might criticize that, but I'm like, when I first went in there, when I was behaving badly in terms of how I was treating, the disrespect I was showing people, I wasn't getting respect because I wasn't given respect. I was angry and I was doing all the same stuff that everyone else does, because I'm human, because we're human. But when after case 3 or 4, whatever it was, and I started just chilling out, because I'm like, you're going to take me through this process again, and I'm going to get to the end, and it's going to be, I'm going to speak to the judge, and the judge is going to see what I see, and it's going to go back to where it was, and blah, 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 blah. And that's all it ever did. It's all it ever did. Every single cycle, same shit. So I just got, look, you know what? Crack on, do what you need to do. And I got really blasé about everything. And I started taking it as a joke. When I started doing that and I started seeing it for what it was, and everyone else started seeing it for what it is, the judges have never let me down. Never. It's the process. Once you accept the process is shit, and the judges say the process is shit, when you get on with the judge and treat the judge like a human being, and the judge sees you as a human being because you're showing the respect, it's, family court is not a criminal court. When you go into family court as a criminal, you get treated with contempt, absolutely. But if you're going into family court just because you're unfortunate enough to be going through a breakup, you don't get treated the same. You get treated like a human being, right? So even more reason to be litigated in person. Even more reason to not need a solicitor. And solicitors hate it when I say this. They hate it. One of my reels got like 30, 40,000 fucking views, whatever, and they just don't like it, which is fine by me. But I'm cool with it. Anyway, so ultimately, so where was I? Kafkas, they're fucking you over. Treat them with respect. Said most of your communication goes over email. You get to a point, you say, well, you're going to be feeling uncomfortable. You're going to be things that are going wrong anyway, and you can sort of feel it, and like you do when your girlfriend's leaving you or whatever, your wife's leaving you or sleeping with someone else. You sort of feel it in the bones. You're going to see the relationship with the professional getting a few cracks in it, and you're not doing anything wrong. And you're speaking to your Mackenzie friend. Make sure you're speaking to your Mackenzie friend or your advocate, or whatever. Notice I say this, not your solicitor, because your solicitor will not be supporting you with this shit at all. Your solicitor doesn't give a shit. Neither does your barrister, because you're just a number and big money to them. Whereas your Mackenzie friend or a good Mackenzie friend or a good advocate, you wouldn't be that much money. It should be chargeable, absolutely, but not as much. And they will care a little bit more because that's what good people do. But they will advise you in the right way, hopefully. And that would be just to communicate by email, start recording. Don't tell them you're recording. Don't tell them you're recording. You don't have to tell them you're recording. Fuck them. You play by your rules, yeah? Don't tell them you're recording. If you need to rely on it, then rely on it. I've not been in a situation once ever where I've been told that my recordings can't be let in after they've listened to them, and said, no, there's nothing on them that we find valuable. And I've been told that there's nothing being allowed in. I've been things have been dismissed, but I've also had many recordings, MP4s, MP3s taken in when transcribed and listened to without getting consent, without getting permission to do it. Because you get permission, if you're a litigant in person, you'll get knocked back a lot of the time because they worry about how your pack is going to get presented and how your evidence is going to get put into them. So they'll say no. But ultimately, if you just do it, what are they going to do? They have to look at it. Yeah, everyone's going to be like, quick, send it in. Do not just send everything in. Make sure your pack is all in one place. Make sure it's all easy and legible to get to. And don't forget, you'll have to send it in multiple emails because the size of the email will be over 25, whatever it is, so it won't send. So there's ways and means of doing it, but if you need help, give me a shout. But anyway, so you start recording everything, and then once you've recorded everything, you're not telling them. You're having your normal conversations with them. They're treating you like a mug still, and you're still recording them, and they don't know. But you're banking, and then you get to the point where the relationship snaps. Yeah, the relationship's gone. They fucking overstepped the line. The professional has overstepped the line, and you've got enough on them now to bag everything you need. And you say to them, right, that's enough now. Bollocks to you. I don't want to communicate with you via email, and I've got everything you've been talking about on recordings. I'm not going to use it as evidence, but I'm not going to lie. If I need to, I fucking will. Moving forward, you're going to communicate with me via email, or you be aware that I'm recording all your calls, and make sure all your calls are recorded. And what you'll find is they'll be treating you and talking to you the way they should be in the first place, because they know they're getting recorded. But you've already got a whole stash of stuff when they've not been speaking to you properly. That's how you take out a fucking CAFCAS officer who is being bent and not fucking proper. That's how you take out a social worker who's being bent and not proper. Yeah, watch this back as many times as you like. That's how you do it. You're going to get bent coppers. You're going to get bent fucking. Same as when you're working in the work environment. Yeah, you get people. I sacked my ex-wife's brother. I sacked him. I gave him a job, and that was probably the start of the end of the relationship as well. I gave him a job, and then was working in Hampstead. He gave me a job. He wasn't working. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm missing a phone. Oh look, I've given someone a job. I'm missing a phone. What's going on here? It wasn't just one phone. It was a couple of phones. Yeah, he nicked a couple of phones. So I fucking terminated his employment on the spot. It was fuck off, go. But then my ex-wife was like, oh, it's either him or me. Well, it's either your job or me. I'm like, well, fucking my job's paying my bills. My job's going to give me money. Well, you give it, you take it. Spend it. Lo and behold, we stayed together a few months after that still. Well, we couldn't really call it together, but we were living in the same household, or sometimes. But yeah, that's the thing. I think you're going to get good people, you're going to get bad people. If you're unfortunate enough to get a bad CAFCAS officer or a bad social worker, and let's be honest, there are people who are not bad, but they probably a little bit naive. And if they can get blinded by someone who is very good at manipulating, who, let's be honest, I mean, look, my ex-wife probably doesn't want, she cannot be friends with me, she cannot be civil with me, for probably the simple reason is that she's told me so many porky pies about me that she would have to eat her own words and apologise. And I've never heard her say the word sorry, ever. Apparently my daughter's heard her say it once, and that's when the social worker spoke to her about not saying sorry. What does that tell you? But yeah, so because she would never go back down on that, she would know she has to live the life. She has to live what she believes to be her truth, which is her reality, which is I could get upset about, but that's her reality. That's her dimension. That's what she wants. And that's what she believes. So you have to accept it. Move on. I'm not wasting my energy on it. And that's what I've done. Unfortunately, it means that she doesn't speak to me. And unfortunately, it means she can't respect me. Well, she could if she wanted to. She chooses not to. For the sake of her daughter, you'd think that she would want to. But because people don't always love their children, they see them as a commodity. They see them as something, the shiny object that they can show off. And the children were never always going to be 100% able to please their mothers. That's something that happens quite a lot. Yeah, when you've got your parents who are unable to actually really love their children and they see their children as just objects. That's sick. But it happens and it's out there. And it's not abuse because the children are fed, watered, and they've got their basic minimum needs being met. They're just making a child that's going to grow into being something else. But anyway, I digressed. Too long on that one question. So proper screwed you over. So that's what you should do if you're getting screwed over by a professional. If you need help with getting out of being screwed over by a professional, I would say give me a shout. But you can give me a shout. But there's a waiting list and I'm trying to get stuff done as soon as I can. And that's why I'm doing this way. But I can help you over voice notes and all that sort of shit and guide you through the process. Absolutely, I can. So, well, Kafka's report offered no contact for my first hearing this week and ended up getting an interim order for surprised contact after every other Saturday for 2 hours and video calls once a week. See, this is what I'm talking about. You've got a good judge there. Yeah, whoever that was, you've got a good judge because that there is a judge that can see the value in a moment. You're going to get good judges, you're going to get bad judges. That's a good judge. You've got a Kafka's report that says no contact. The judge can see through the Kafka's report. There's something that they can see. There's something that the Kafka's officer has missed. There's something that the judge can see, and the Kafka's officer probably can see, but is saying, no, I'm not having it, not having it. It's a good judge. That's brilliant. I hope that went ahead, and I hope that really went really well. Because what you've got to remember is you get the high. You get the high of getting the court order. And then you get the low of the court order not being followed. Happens a lot. In fact, it might, yeah, do you know what? A lot. Kafka's report recommended no contact. I've read that one. Is there a way of finding out if the opposition is on legal aid or putting their own bill? Yeah, you'll find at the end of the court hearing when the judge says save us to costs or blah blah blah. I think they say save us the costs from the public purse, or they will say the costs are to the whichever party's paying, because they will try and get Lindsay, my ex-wife, tried getting me to pay her solicitor fees. I was like, what? Get off. That's what I said, and that's what. And he said, I said, no, I'm not paying you nothing. What happens if they get legal aid and there's no domestic abuse proven? It happens all the time. Get legal aid, they get the non-molestation order, and then you take an undertaking. You take your undertaking with no findings. They've still got the legal aid that goes into child arrangements. Figure that out, because you've only, well, it makes sense because you've only postponed the allegations that she's put against you. You're saying I don't want to hear this right now. I'm not going to go next to her. I promise the court I'm not going to go next to her, and we're going to talk about this in my child arrangements application. There's other videos that explain about that very clearly. Feel free to find those. I'm sure they're abound somewhere. Today's subject: legal. If some people have managed to get the legal aid stopped in those instances, you go to SRA or whatever it is, you complain about it. There's not actually SRA. It's someone else. It's somewhere else. There's a legal aid board or whatever. It's the government. It's the government basically. But you go there, highlight exactly what your concerns are, and then they will either terminate and get the money back. And that's happened like once or twice. So that's that. Courts did send me a notification on Wednesday. Late paperwork. Is this what it is? Courts did send me a notification on Wednesday with the date, but I somehow missed it with everything that's going on at the moment. Which you missed the court date. I'll just phone them up and say you missed the court date. Just say you didn't get, you got the paperwork, got the day wrong. They will have to hear it again, or you'll get a court order that comes out that says you missed the court date. The amount of mums that miss the court date or just don't turn up intentionally or not intentionally, who knows? And the judges turn around and say, well, yeah, we can't do anything. We can't hear anything without her being here. So it's delay. I've been in many cases where my guys have not turned up to court and they've just left me sat there, taking notes as to what's going on, and my guy's been turfed over massively. Final hearing, and you have to recover that. It's hard work. But again, it's how we get treated differently. We get treated differently because we're men. Indispensable. indispensable. So you should be your court date back, and that's that. I think 15 minutes, and then okay, so yeah, you need to prepare a statement. Always go to court with a statement. Yeah, so regardless of anything, go to court with a statement. Until the court write an order that says no more paperwork unless that's on every order. That towards the end, speak to your Mackenzie friend. I do believe that you need to be going into court every single hearing with a document of some sort. Ideally, it will be 3 or 4 pages. Take the piss a little bit, like position statement, 2 pages. You put a witness statement in. Not too much, not too little. It's a fine line. But yeah, you don't want to piss the judge off, so you've got to be really careful with that sort of stuff because you want to keep the judge sound. You don't want to. You've got to build a relationship with the judge. When you litigate in person, what you're doing every single court hearing, you are building a relationship. You might have a different judge each time, but you build a relationship with that judge. They will leave notes on the computer for the next person. If you are well behaved and you're respectful, they will leave notes saying that. That's for sure. Is there a line between art and not art? I don't know where that comes from, but it's there, so I'm saying it. Good question. Everything's art. Everything's art, isn't it? Everything's art. Everything. Me doing this is art. Everything you walk in the street is art. Everything you see is art. Is it even real? Is it even real? Is this here? Is this just another fragmented section of my fucked up reality or different dimension or a dream that I'm living in? Who knows? Who knows? I'm going to leave you with this one though. Lateness of documents. Yeah. Lateness of documents. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone says. This is my opinion. This is my viewpoint. This is my rules. This is what I do. The courts do not give a fuck. If you've got a court date, and it's, say, for example, if I've got a court date and what are we now? December. If I've got a court date and it's in September next year, and I've got to get my paperwork in February, and my ex has got to get a paperwork in February as well. If my ex puts her paperwork in February and I don't put my paperwork in until April and my court hearing is not until September, the courts don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. It's if you are late replying to if you've got deadlines, so for example, you're doing a finding of facts here and you've got to do a Scott schedule, and you've got to get your Scott schedule to that person, they've got to respond to your Scott schedule and give it back to you. These are deadlines you need to keep because that's when they'll use it against you. Because that means your court case, you've got an endpoint, yeah. But if your endpoint is months and months away, and you've got to put a statement in, and they've got to put a statement in, it means either your relationship is in a really bad way, and the conflict is huge because they've left it that amount of time. But they're not going to worry about that. It's only if you have to exchange paperwork with each other that I would worry about you getting your deadlines right. If it's months and months ahead, or if it's a few days late, or if you're in person, if you're actually in person in court, you can go to court on the day. I used to do it all the time. I used to do it all the time with my ex-wife, and then I got into trouble when she did it to me on my last time out. Because my last time out, it was lockdown, so we were supposed to get paperwork in April. We caught in December. I got my paperwork in. It was one sentence. I agree with the cat passport. See you later. She didn't put her paperwork in. I knew she wouldn't put her paperwork in. She's going to leave it until the last minute. She put in her paperwork 48 hours before the actual court date. I stayed up all night, did my little paperwork, did my statement, which had Liam Gallagher in it, had all sorts of sarcastic crap in it. And because it was a piss take, what she was doing was a piss take. And I wasn't taking it seriously because why should I? It was jokes. And ultimately, I put my paperwork in, I put my statement in on the morning of the court hearing. And I said, well, I want to retract my statement, my sentence, my previous statement, which was a sentence. I want to retract that. And I want to put this statement in instead. The judge just kept them both together anyway, and she's fine. But ultimately, as long as the judge can see your paperwork, and as long as it's not like a book of shit, and you want the judge to read that before the actual court hearing, that ain't going to happen. If you just got a couple of pages and the judge can read it within 5-10 minutes, not even going to be a problem. Judges are late. Generally, judges are late because of the reading paperwork. Yeah, you've got to think they're overcrowded, they're overrun. And I promise you now this for sure. If you've got a good judge, which this guy's obviously had, you can turn over Kafkas, yeah, because there are in anything in life, there are people that do not do their jobs properly. They get found. It's an emotional job you're doing. It's an emotional job you're doing, and a lot of people's philosophies still are quite old-fashioned. Now, bear this in mind. I'm going to leave you with this. Yeah, bear this in mind. Now, the world has changed. The world has evolved. Yeah, I get a lot of criticism for what I do and how I do it. No one else has got the bollocks to do what I do, and no one else will support the people the way I support people. And I'm cool with that. You've got your ways, I've got my ways. But things have evolved. So the world has moved on, and I'm doing my thing, and my customers and my clients are happy, my courts are happy, everyone's happy. Not always, but 80% of the time, over 80% of the time, we're good. Just because my ways I've developed are unique to me and what I'm doing, that doesn't mean they're wrong. And that doesn't mean anyone watching this, oh, he's saying this, he's saying that. I've seen videos, I've seen people who are on the same team as, not the same team as me, but they do their own groups and whatever. And they're like, oh, some of the crap that I'm seeing and blah, 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 blah. Well, why don't you stop moaning about me or other crap you're seeing and start giving out some advice to help people, is what I'd say. Because I try and do things for me because I talk about my situation. I talk about, this is my release, this is my counselling, this is what I do, this is how I stay alive, and this is I do it because I want to. It makes me happy. That's why I do what I do. And there's nothing anyone can throw at me to fucking try and derail me because I do it because it makes me happy. Don't do it for anyone else, do it for me. If people are getting pissed off because I'm giving advice, and if people want to take my advice and literally go and do it and try and think that they know what they're doing because I make it look easy because I take for granted what I do, and they fuck up their own shit based on what I say, then they should have spoke to me in the first place. They shouldn't have gone off and did it themselves. And nothing is ever irretrievably broken. Nothing is, especially in family court, because the courts want you to. I do believe courts, if dealt with correctly, will want children to have both mum and dad in their lives. You're going to get exceptions to that. I get it. But if it's handled in the right way, that's what you're going to get. And I believe that if you do handle things in the right way, not how I did it when I first went into court, but how I've learned to do it since, by showing respect, by not doing anything magical or underhand or deceiving, by showing love, but not by cheating, not by fucking giving people the wrong answers, by giving respect. That's it. There's no magic fucking ingredient. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Literally, own your shit. Be humble. Remain child focused. Compromise. Sacrifice. Simple as that. That's what it's about. And if you can do that and actually mean it and try and get some positive from a really awful situation, which I believe you can, because I have done. And if I can do it, then anyone can do it. But anyone can do anything. You just need to believe it. You need to believe it. You need to live it. You need to believe it. You need to breathe it. You need to live it. Yeah, there's no two ways about it. 8 minutes. Yeah, I've done good. I've left myself 8 minutes to go. But it's probably because I spoke too fast and probably said too much shit. But then it is what it is. Could leave you with a song. I feel my pecker tingling. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. But I will go. We'll say goodbye because I'm done here. I'm done. And thank you for watching, and thank you for listening, and thank you for doing whatever you're doing. Show people love, show people respect. People will come at you with hate. People should think you're really mental because you're giving everyone so much love. But literally, live it in your heart, believe it, and fucking let them come at you. Because if you come back at them with love and they're angry because you're happy, let them. Because as long as you have love in your heart, and as long as you literally live love and you don't mean any harm to anybody else, and this is why it makes me laugh with people who are on the same team as me, who will criticize me in their own little groups and corners or whatnot for being the way I am. You spend more time criticizing other people than what you do actually trying to help people. I mean, I get sent shit, and I'm like, I don't even look at it. I see it. I don't see the face. I'm not even going to look at it. But why don't you spend more time helping people? Because surely that's time better spent, no? Because we're on the same team. No, I don't mind people. I've got people that I have criticised for charging £12 for a statement when they're coming to me and getting my information, getting things off me, and then going and giving them different information to people, and then charging them £12 for a statement. I'm like, that to me is that doesn't make sense, especially if you don't have the experience. I think if you don't have experience, especially in as a McKinsey friend, if you don't have experience, I think, or qualifications, or you should be at least doing it for free. I spent 8 years doing what I do for free, and that's what's given me the knowledge and experience that I have. And I think it's valuable because I'm probably better at what I do, and that's why I don't do anything. I help people find their inner strength to get through what is really difficult, help them think a different way, and help them find a better version of themselves. And that's all it is, trying to be better people. That's all you can do. How many of these people, think about this, 10 years, right? 5 minutes. 10 years I've spent trying to be a better person, blaming myself for my marriage and the breakdown of the marriage because everything that I was told, everything I was made to feel, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse, it was all my fault. Everything's my fault. COVID-19 is my fault. It's all me. So I'm used to taking that responsibility. I'm used to taking that blame. But it wasn't all me. It takes two. But you spent that time blaming yourself for everything. So I tried being a better person. I tried to just stop eating with my eyes. Little things, little things. I spent 10 years trying to be a better person. I still am. Every day I try to be a better person. Because your ex sees you as 2012 you, an old version of you that doesn't exist anymore. They presume that you still live there. They make you feel like you still live there. They make you feel that you can't be a parent. That's abuse. That's abuse. If they can't see you for who you are, ignore them. Let them. Don't try and prove yourself to anyone. You have nothing to prove yourself. No one to prove yourself to other than yourself. I compete with myself. I just want to be a better person. Each day I fuck up. I make a mistake here, make a mistake there. Try and be better. Don't compete with no one. Just be you. I'm saying I'm going now because that's definitely it. Peace and love. Peace and love. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Liar's glove. That's my liar's glove. Take care.